YouTube. This is BUB'S Comics coming at you with the No Faces Comic Chat. With me, as always, is my good buddy Metarog. Say, yo, what's up, y'all?
Greetings, everyone.
Oh. Shucks.
Listen, I may live in Mississippi, but I'm not that type of Southerner.
Fair enough. I thought I might slide one by on you. DS is on his way. He's a little late. He knew we were going to be talking about keys of multiple ages tonight, and so he had to rush out and buy some. And so he's on his way.
Wow. Wow, that's a dedicated member right there.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we got with us in the chat. Looks like it says there's like 20 people watching, but so far we got Rayman the Silencer Man saying hello. We got Area 51 Mike. I think he dropped another part of his Funny Pages mystery box, so that was cool to watch.
Yeah, that was
Werewolf cool. By Lunchtime's in the house, coming to us from the great state of Wisconsin. No, that's not right, Roger. It's not.
I never said anything about U.S. I said New Zealand. I was close.
Oh, okay. He's from New Zealand. He's not from. He's from Perth.
He's from Australia. He's from Australia. I said New Zealand by mistake.
Perth is in Australia.
No, you're messing up. I'm thinking of Kyle Walker, who's from New Zealand.
Oh, he's from Perth, Australia. Werewolf by Lunchtime is.
Move it on. That's getting old. Let's go. Move it on.
All right. We got
Move
Comic
ahead.
Books NYC saying, "What's up, guys?"
Hey, Coffee, how you doing?
Hey. All right, so good to have everybody. Glad you're all here. DS is on his way. He's stuck in traffic. I think he might be stuck at the drive-thru. He ordered curly fries, and they keep making his fries straight, and he doesn't like that. He wants them curly, so he sends them back every time. And today,
DS would do that. He would.
You kidding me?
He would do that.
He'd go in there and show him how to make them, even if he'd never done it before. Well, I don't know how to make fries, but I'll show you how to make them.
Yeah, he'll get educated quick.
Absolutely. Oh, look at that. Look, Bub is correct. There you go. There you go. Werewolf by Lunchtime.
I agree with you. I know you're correct. Listen, hey, even a broken clock's right twice a day. All right, so don't get too big on me, Bub.
Look, it's getting old, Roger. It's getting old. We're moving on.
We love beating those dead horses. I mean, like,
absolutely,
really beating them up. Yeah.
Yes, we drag them out of the ground into a bag of bones and beat them again.
Yeah,
we got today. We are the who are we? The Mylar Maniacs, as requested by Mike at Area 51. So thank you for that. He had requested that last week when we were the poly bag tape pullers or whatever we were last week.
Hey, that could be a regular segment. Right before we sign off, we ask, hey, what do you think our title or subtitle should be for next week?
That sounds good. And and I'll announce this too. Another new segment that we're going to have, because we need, because we already have such a hard time keeping it to an hour, that we're going to add more segments, make it even harder to keep to an hour. Hey, hi, Aaliyah, Comic Bros in the house saying, what's up, Mylar Maniacs? Good to have you. And I think that one thing I was thinking about doing was putting up, and I'll have to get permission. Mm-hmm. So if anyone in the chat is willing to participate in this, let me know in the chat so that I can mark you down. But I'm going to have a segment that's called the Why No Faces. It'll have a little Y, right? It'll say Why No Faces. And we're going to take Face of the Week. And it's going to be someone who shows their face in videos. And then we're going to take that and we're going to freeze frame it. We're going to put it in the screen. So I don't want to, be mean to anybody. So only if you accept this, then let me know in the chat. If you want to be part of this, then I'll take a screenshot of one of your videos. And I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be a favorable screenshot. The whole idea, the whole point is to get the worst picture of someone I can find from their last couple videos and put it up. The worst freeze frame I can find. And that's why we're the No Faces chat. So if anyone is down for that, let me know in the comments or in the live chat. And anybody wants to have their face shown on the No Faces comic chat, we'll do that. And that'll be our Why No Faces segment. We'll try and do one every week. And if no one volunteers, I'll start picking at random.
He'll do the military style.
Absolutely. For instance, we got Comics with Bueller. I know he's got a couple of real good ones. We got Comic Geek McD with his new logo looking good there.
Yeah.
I know he's good for a couple of good freeze frames. And we got Bad Dad 320. Thank you and welcome. And we also have DS Comics in chat. DS, is your audio working?
What's up? Yeah, I'm here. I just ran a little late. Actually fell asleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we didn't have that one.
Yeah.
We
It's
were
your
Long
day
day
off,
doing
though,
nothing,
right?
already out.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah,
That's
I
all
was on a stream earlier with Bueller earlier today, so that was a lot of fun. Bueller and Robert, the G-Spot Galvin, and myself were just kind of like talking for about an hour today on some very unknown Bueller channel. It's only like 100 some subs, but we had a great time.
Yeah, really. They're really struggling over there. If you're not subbed to Comics with Bueller, go sub him up. He's really hurting. I think he's under 3,000 still. Bless his little heart.
6,000 something is not even close to what Bueller should be at. I mean, it should be 10 times that easily. So,
Comic Books NYC says that DS was stuck in traffic napping.
Yeah, you know, there's only so much napping that can happen at one time there in the Eastern Seaboard. So,
Well, I'll tell you, I think I fell asleep at like I don't know, 5 o'clock, maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock. So that was a really good nap.
That's awesome. Yeah. Are you
Nice.
even going to be sleepy later? You don't really go to bed till like 1 a.m. anyway, do you?
Oh, I stay up way later than that. I'll probably stay up till 3.
wow.
I know.
Wow.
Depending on the night, I'll sometimes get, if we're into a Instagram or whatever, texting back and forth, and I usually check out somewhere around 1 a.m. and I'm like, this guy's going to stay up past me. I'm done. And then I'll see his little green light will pop up again at 2, 3 in the morning. He just pops up. It's like he'll just put like a little double tap on there for a little heart. Oh yeah, okay, he's still alive. So,
yeah, but see,
cool
that's
stuff.
why I try to stay off the radar. There's a good example there because I don't need people knowing when I'm up, when I'm not, when I'm active, when I'm on my computer, when I'm on my phone. Little green dots popping up, little actives, little scene, little typing. I don't like that stuff, man.
Wow. All right.
I hear you.
Off the gritter. Hey,
It all.
Bueller and Mike from Area 51 say, "Yep, freeze frame me," and Mike says, "I double dog you to freeze frame me."
Well, we'll do Mike next week, and we'll do, or the next episode we'll do Mike, and then the episode after that we'll do Bueller. So we got our first 2. Anybody else want to put it in the comments if you're watching this on replay or rewind? Like Alex, I know he's real good fodder for it. I gotta say though, and this is, and I know that he still watches some of my videos from time to time. But once your own subscriber list grows so much, it's hard to watch back everyone's videos and keep up with the rest of the community. It gets really out of hand pretty fast. But I tell you, one of the best faces for freeze framing, like a bad face, is Reggie. And I have accidentally come upon, in fact, he's truly the inspiration for this segment, because in watching his videos every now and then, his videos can be quite long, especially if you're rewatching one of his live shows. And it'll go like, 30, 40 minutes. So I have to pause it, do something else. And I come back and I see this like distorted face on my screen. And I'm like, oh man, that's the best reason for No Faces chat. So there you go. So we'll give him a little bit of credit on that.
Hialeah Comic Bro says, "I'm down for a Jay Giles freeze frame."
Oh yeah. Love it.
Only us older folks know about Jay Giles band.
Oh, I love Jay Giles band.
Yeah, didn't you do Centerfold too? Is that Jay Giles?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love a good 80s.
Angel is a centerfold.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Centerfold.
And Piss on the Wall. Oh, I can't say that. This is a family show. I'm sure JB said that at some point today. So, but that's one of my favorite ones too.
This show is what does he say? Family friendly or intended for all ages, something like that.
Yes, And we try to keep it that way. Every now and then, Roger gets on a tangent, but
oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Well, we don't want to rile you up. I take it back.
I have never let anything like that. I haven't used a curse word in probably 20 years, so it does not happen. Okay.
I tell you a story though about those that protest too much.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend when I was younger. I went to this camp, right, and it was kind of a scholarship type camp, people all over the world and out of the country, right? You couldn't pay to go. You had to apply to go. And it was all, you didn't pay anything to go. So anyway, I went to this camp, and it was my first exposure to even though being from New York, I had never met like a Mormon before. So I think one of the Matts, there's like, did you notice everyone on YouTube's named Matt? But one of the Matts, the boy who had 7, I think he's a Mormon. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, that's correct.
So it was my first time meeting a Mormon. And if you don't know this, at least this was my experience, was that at that age, especially, they're teetotalers as well. So, no drinking, none of that stuff, and no cursing or cussing, whatever you want to call it either.
Correct.
So,
especially when they're on mission. When they're on mission, they're very restricted.
I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So this young man, and there were a few others, he was really good at it. I mean, this kid, and at that age, I was probably like 15 or 16 or so. And this kid was like, I idolized him because he was so good at restraining himself from cussing like everyone else was. It was an all boys camp and there was an all girls camp. So you can imagine people said what they wanted, Oh yeah. And so it was very, I was impressed until I saw that kid play soccer. And let me tell you, he cussed up a storm from from one goal to the other. He cussed out his own team. He cussed out the other team. At one point, he just laid his back and cussed the sky. I was like, what's going on? And then when all that was done, right, he comes off, and I'm like, oh, man, I won't say his name. I was like, oh, man, I can't believe you. I'm totally shocked, but I give you a pass, because you're so good all the other time. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh my God! So
anyway. There's always the sports exemption for that. When in high school we used to play a lot of the Catholic schools, and sometimes the coaches were either one of the fathers or one of the brothers or whatever, and they would cuss out the referees. So that's
it gets bad.
It gets caught up in the moment. That's all.
Yeah, we should do a show or a segment about comic-related exemptions that get you off the hook if you have to curse. Because I use curse words more in the comic hobby than anything else, except traffic. That's a toss-up between traffic and comics. It's probably a toss-up.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
we know you're sleeping through traffic, so that doesn't count.
Well, yeah, but that's up north,
today.
Like where you're from, Bub. So up there, it's expected. Nobody even bats an eye if you're cursing it in traffic up there.
No, a middle finger is just another turn signal.
Exactly. I use my horn at least once a day down here, and people look at me like, "What? What's wrong? What did I do?" And I'm like, "Nothing, man. The light turned green 2 seconds ago. I'm honking." No big deal.
2 seconds.
2 seconons. There's a 2-second rule on lights.
The light changed green. I'm honking. That's what the horn's for. We gotta move on. That's it.
He's got a stopwatch taped with painter's tape on his dashboard. He clicks every time the light turns green. That's been 2 seconds. Oh, and we got Seawood in the house. If I didn't call him out, we got Mr. Gretzky, 9966. Again, being from New York, I remember when Gretzky played for the Rangers, and that was a big deal for us to get him from Edmonton. We were like super excited, and I know he did some time in LA too, but we don't count that. And so when I was a kid, I had like full size like Gretzky dolls, and he had jersey, and he had like the full outfit, the Rangers outfit, and a stick and everything. And he was the same size, roughly, as the Star Wars figures at that time. The hard plastic Vader and Stormtrooper and the kind of rubbery Luke. You remember those?
Yeah.
So anyway, Gretzky was part of the Star Wars universe in my house. He was the only one that got a pass allowed in. And Barbie. My sister was allowed to play with me if she would bring the Barbie to be saved, because I didn't have a Princess Leia.
Oh.
Well, there you go.
Damsel in distress. I got it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I used the Light Bright, the fresh new sheets on the Light Bright to plan GI Joe invasions, and then of course they were useless after that. And I didn't necessarily follow the unicorn pattern that was on it, so you got really upset about that. If you know about Light Bright, it was just basically a light screen and a piece of paper with a pattern, a black piece of paper that would block out the light, and you would put it up on the white screen, and then you had like sort of translucent, different colored pegs, and you'd push them in where the pattern was, and it would form this outline of whatever the figure on the paper was. But the light would glow through the pegs with the different colors, whatever the peg was, to make cool designs. And you know, if you're doing GI Joe invasions, it's really good because it's like the big map table you would see in the World War II movies. Roll out the big map on it. So I would do that, and I'd have the pegs be, you know, I'd have the red ones for Cobra, and I'd have all the, you know, the white ones, and then the black ones, and green obstacles, and yeah, you could run an entire war room from that. But then, of course, you know, that piece of paper is ruined for the Light Bright. So.
Oh, who cares? We've already had our fun.
You could get more. There's a whole stack of them anyway. I mean, you know what a unicorn looks like. Use the elf.
We had an old refrigerator growing up, and that happens a lot in New York because I lived on the 15th floor of an apartment building. So you use your refrigerator until it just couldn't make an ice cube anymore. Like that was, you know, you stuck with it because moving a refrigerator up, you know, 15 flights back and forth and all that, it was terrible. So anyway, we had an old refrigerator, I remember growing up, and it used to freeze, like, you know, the ice box at the top used to freeze really bad. So every now and then I would ask, like, hey, can I help defrost the freezer? Mom was like, yeah, go ahead. So I would defrost the freezer, and I would chip away all those big giant sheets. It would be like this thick and like that wide sheets of ice would come crashing down from inside the freezer, and I would gather them all in a giant bowl, and I'd put them in the bathtub, and then I would get my Star Wars figures and play like it was Hoth. And that was my Hoth battle scene in the bathtub with all the ice from the freezer. Oh my God. It was great. Good stuff.
That was awesome. We should do a whole show on 80s toys sometimes too. Sometime. That'd be good. Real good.
We need more of them. You've only got the instruction manuals left in Ziplocs. We need the real thing.
All of them in Ziplocs. So.
Oh, we got Man from Beantown in the house. We got Pope Cerebus the First, or Cerebus. I don't know. I think it's Cerebus. And good to have you guys in. And let's see. Oh, we better
get Russ is in here too.
Russ. Oh, Super Russ 9,000. Yep. That's right. Welcome. It used to be Russ's Funko Collectibles, didn't he? I think he had changed his name at some point.
Comics and Collectibles,
yeah. So good to have you in here. I guess let's Gretzky says, hey, Bub, so we'll wait for those for the rest of that question.
Oh, maybe he's just saying hello. He might be just saying hello. Yeah, hey.
Gretzky, how you doing? Yeah. All right. So our topic for tonight is simply what makes a key book like a top key for any age. And I have my own theory on some of these. I'll try not to share them too much.
I know you'll fail. You'll fail at that one.
I will. I always fail. But I think that there's some combinations that go into play for it to be the mega key of that time. But I'll let you guys have first crack at it. I think we should probably start off with DS because I worry about him. So he's been napping an awful lot lately. He's losing time is what's going on. So let's hear it, DS. What do you think? Why don't you? I'll tell you what. Let's talk about an age then. We'll talk about the golden age. How do you like that?
Let's get an age.
Yeah, I'll do golden age. And
so go ahead. Tell us what makes a key book from the golden age one of the top key books from the golden age, and how is that recognizable to the rest of us?
All right. Well, golden age is, I don't know if I would call it unique, or it just seems unique to me because that's mostly what I'm into. But there are so many different subgenres in the golden age. So one that I am totally not involved in is the superhero genre in the golden age. I don't collect superhero books from the golden age at all. And those are where the overall golden age mega keys lie. And essentially for the golden age, any superhero that still persists in the popular culture who had a first appearance in the Golden Age, that's a uber gigantic mega key. Everybody knows those. They're nothing special. Action 1, Tech 27, was All-Star 8, More Fun 76 or 78. There's a bunch. The Green Lantern, Flash, Captain America, Superman, Batman, all those Golden Age greats. So that's for superheroes. Pretty straightforward. It's basically the first appearance. And all the other first appearances that fall under that are special, villains, meetings, first piece of Batman's equipment is a popular category. First Batmobile, first bat signal, first bat plane, that type of things. First time Batman holds a gun. There's a lot of those little novelty things in the Golden Age about Batman. Superhero stuff, pretty standard for what's key. But first appearances are the big keys in all of comic books anywhere. So the category I'm into has nothing to do with that. I collect basically what I call sort of dark Golden Age is sort of the category. And that encompasses anything that has sort of a dark, noir, creepy, scary sort of theme to it. And for that, what makes a big key is there's basically three things. There's the cover art, the artist, and the rarity. So each of those things are sort of like on a virtual graph, and you sort of chart all three like in your head or in that genre. So if you have an awesome artist, but it's not a rare book and it's not a great cover, you've got one of the three very high. Decent book, it'll go for some, it'll be sought after. If you get a really rare book and a really awesome cover, but not a great artist, well, you've got two of the three. That's going to be a pretty big key in that genre. But then you get something that's like an Alex Schomburg cover that's hard to find, that's really awesome. Then you got all three. Now you've got a mega key for that genre. Sometimes two being extremely high will overshadow the third. For instance, Startling Comics 49 is a huge mega key in this genre. And that's the one that has Bender the robot on it in the water holding the woman. That's an Alex Schomburg airbrushed cover. That's obviously a Schomburg. It's an iconic cover. Really not that rare in terms of Golden Age. There's like 100 or something on the census. For Golden Age, that's not rare at all. But it's the top artist, and it's one of the most iconic images. It overshadows the fact that it's not ultra rare. So that makes it a huge mega key. Things like that. And then, there's a whole other categories. LB Cole would be its own category. Timely's would be its own category, the pre-Marvel stuff. The Captain America, World War II stuff. Those have different things that give rise to mega keys in those categories. So there's a lot of different categories. But in the one I'm in, basically, and this is how I've changed my collecting. I'm trying to collect, for my PC, books that rank high on all three of those scales. And I try to get a decent condition. So I want a book that's not easy to find, sort of rare. I want an awesome, iconic cover, and I want like a top name artist. So you get those three pretty decent on the scale, and you've got a really good key for like what I call dark Golden Age. So there's a little bit about Golden Age, especially the category that I'm into.
Well, what's interesting to me about that is that when you say rarity, and then you also say, how also you want a good condition book also. Doesn't some of that condition feed into rarity? Like if you have, it could be the third or fourth book on your list of important books in that category, right? Like say the third best eye trauma cover for Golden Age horror, right?
Yeah.
So you got the third best eye trauma book, but if it's in like a 9.2, a completely unheard of condition for that book, wouldn't that kind of move it up on the rarity scale enough to maybe make it a top book?
Well, when I say rarity, I mean how many of them are out there. And there's, again, I break it down even further because I love doing logic trees and breaking things down. Mm-hmm. So for rarity, there's actual rarity and there's apparent rarity. Books that are so good that people never give them up have apparent rarity. There's a ton of them on a census, but nobody ever gets rid of their copies. So they're very hard to find. So if you want one and you don't have one, you don't care whether there's not many out there or nobody's selling. It's just as hard for you to find them. But, you know, going by grades, there's some collectors that want, you know, 7.5 or higher. Some collectors just want, you know, better to have like a low grade beats no grade type philosophy. And then there's some that just want a complete presentable copy like me. And there's some people that want decent mid grades with good page quality. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. So the grade doesn't really factor into the rarity of it. It's just how many overall books are out there is sort of the rarity. And it's like how many are out there being sold is what it is, not how many. And the census is a good indication of that. You know, for Golden Age books, for the category I'm in now, superhero Golden Age have far more on the census. You'll have hundreds and hundreds. Like you know, Batman Golden Age keys, there will be several hundred on the census. It's not rare from my standpoint, but anything under 20 on the census for like Dark Golden Age, I consider to be a rare book. And if as it goes down below 20, it gets really rare. And as it goes above 20, it becomes easier to get. And you get into the 40 and 50 on the census, it's not really considered a rare book. EC books for pre-code horror, their lack of rarity is really what keeps their prices in check, because, you know, you have something like Shock Suspense Story 6, there's, you know, hundreds on the census, and a lot of them in, you know, they have over 100 of them just in 9.0 through 9.9. Yes, there's a 9.9 on the census. So, wow. Yeah, I mean, the grade isn't really part of the rarity. That's just depending on the type of collector you are, what type of grades you go after. But the overall number of them that are out there to be had is sort of the rarity.
Okay, I'll accept that. Thank you.
Excellent.
What do you say, Roger, about the Silver Age? And you know I'm dumping the Silver Age on you because nobody wants to talk about that one.
Right.
Because one of the things that upsets me about Silver Age keys is that little tag that says of the Silver Age. Almost all the keys, almost all the major keys of the Silver Age, especially DC, but all of them will say afterwards, you know, the first appearance of the Flash in the Silver Age.
In the Silver Age, right.
In the Silver Age, you know, and that drives me crazy. That condition that it's a key only in its time period, even though I know we had this discussion 100 times. The difference in the character and the costume and the power sets, even they change origins, all kinds of stuff like that. But they're still recycled characters, and so they have to have that condition saying in the Golden Age, in the Silver Age.
Silver Age, yeah.
So it drives me crazy. But so I'm sticking you with the Silver Age, Roger.
Right. Well, again, yeah, this is a difficult question to answer in this type of format, but. Like, for example, like DS was just talking about Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, to a lesser degree, Aquaman. Those are characters and Green Arrow that sort of, they never changed from the Golden Age to the Silver Age. Just sort of the character continued all through the time, you know, with some changes, but essentially it was the same character. And then now you're talking about Flash, which was Jay Garrick, and then he has another identity, Barry Allen, right? You're talking about characters that have the same name and have perhaps similar situations or powers, but are different characters. And so that, to me, I'm not into that boat like as much as you are, but I agree that Showcase 4 is not as big a key as, for example, Amazing Fantasy 15 because of that. It's got original elements to it, but it's not totally original, right?
Yes.
And now I think Amazing Fantasy, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, has to be the #1 Silver Age key at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
It used to be Showcase 4 by a mile when I was in the 80s. Everybody wanted a Showcase 4. Oh my God, if you don't have a Showcase 4, that's the #1. And now, I mean, since Spider-Man has grown to such a popular icon, and movies and marketing. You know, you don't see a lot of, Flash, merchandise compared to Spider-Man merchandise, for example. So, yeah, I think Amazing Fantasy 15 is one of those, is the Silver Age key right now. I mean, that's no news. That's nothing, I'm not groundbreaking right now. And then, of course, but I think, you know, that Fantastic Four #1, because it's the beginning of a universe, should have a little more love, a little more shine than it does in that kind of, you know, if you're talking about the different keys from Marvel, Hulk 1 is really one of the very toughest to get. Hulk 1 is just such a tough book because, remember, it only lasted 6 issues. It didn't sell nearly as well as the other ones, as Avengers and as Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and X-Men. So to me, that's the kind of like the holy trinity of keys in the Silver Age, Marvel-wise, is first Amazing Fantasy 15, then Fantastic Four 1, and then Hulk 1.
Yeah, I think for me, if I was picking just the ones that I want more than any of them, I want Hulk 1 more than I want any of the others. I would take probably, like a lot of people say that they wouldn't mind having a very, very low grade AF-15, and I would agree with that as well. I would take one if I didn't have to pay too much for it, which it seems like right now everything is too much for that book. Even, you know, tattered pieces of a page seems, which to me, that should be reserved for things like, oh, help me out, DS. What's Captain America's first? It's
Captain America Comics 1.
Yeah. Captain America Comics 1. You know, if you,
Silver Age, it was Avengers 4.
Yeah, I'm talking. Now, if you give me 2/3 of a cover of Cap 1, I'll take it. You know, but I feel like once you get to the Silver Age, I think I should be able to get a decent copy of that book without, you know, selling my house. And I think that that's a problem for me when I get to the Silver Age keys, because I feel like there's enough of them. If money is not that much of an object to you, right, or it's plentiful, you can go out and buy any one of those Silver Age keys we just mentioned in high grade right now. They're out there. They're available.
Yeah, they're available.
You know, you can take your pick of a few of them at least, and pick the one that's just right for you. But if you try and pick up some of that old timely stuff in a high grade, the people who own those are not letting them go that easily. And you might get one available, maybe two, but you're probably going to have to settle for a book if you have to buy it today. And so I feel like the Silver Age keys really don't deserve the price tag that they've got right now, even as important as they are. I would love to have a Hulk 1, but I think it's just already it's close. It's not there yet. I'm still to the point where if I sold every book I had, I could get a Hulk 1, you know?
Right.
And as long as
but don't you think?
Go ahead.
Don't you think I mean, I agree with you. I mean, some Silver Age first appearances are sort of reboots of a character that are sort of exactly the same as the Golden Age, or there was a gap in the Golden Age after World War II where sort of character went away and they just brought him back in the Silver Age, and that gap is sort of significant because, hey, he's back. He wasn't there all the time. But some of them are different characters entirely, just using the same name. They have different uniforms, different identities, whatever. I sort of get what you're saying. It's definitely not as significant overall as the Golden Age first appearances. But the values are tied, 100% to the demand. And yeah, I mean, people who love Captain America, you can't just get a Cap 1 from the Golden Age. So the demand, the next best thing, is getting the Silver Age first appearance, and that's what drives that price. I don't think the prices and the values on those Silver Age first appearances is being driven by how utterly historically important those are as Silver Age first appearances, more so by just the demand for people that love that character, that want as big a historic book for that character that they can get. They realize it's, everybody who buys an Avengers 4 wants a Cap 1, and very few of them have a Cap 1. So the sales and the value on Avengers 4 is being driven by demand, not by how important it is historically. But, there are some characters that are totally different. I mean, the Silver Age Flash and the Golden Age Flash are different. The Silver Age Torch and the Golden Age Torch are not even the same at all. They just share the same moniker, but they're totally different. I mean, one wasn't even a person. So yeah, there's the differences are varied across those, but it's the demand because of the prices of the Golden Age stuff. So yeah, I agree with you, but I don't think that's what's driving the demand or driving the value of this.
That's fair. Roger, we've been slacking in the chat. We've got a bunch of people dropping in on us and dropping out and everything. Why don't you catch us up real quick if you got a minute?
We got Tat Comments in here. He says he can only stay here for a little bit. He's waiting for his wife to come home for dinner, but it's great to see Tat. Great. He does these videos with the the comic top boxes.
Yeah.
Oh man, he is such a good artist. I mean, just such a talent. Bad Avenger's in here. I think he's from your neck of the woods there, DS. What a collection and what a gentleman. I just love his videos. They're just so much fun to watch because he's of my generation and he's picking up the new stuff, that I let go 20 years ago. Michael Dodd is here again, one of the most knowledgeable guys around. I love it when he comments on my videos because he's just a wealth of information. Who else? Man from Beantown has been here for a while, but he knows about keys. If you've seen his video, he's got a lot of them, and he's been putting in here some really good stuff. Squatchy Inc., how you doing, buddy? He's very active in the chat, Squatchy. I love. He always saying hi to everybody. That's great. Broke Cause of Comics is here. He says I think he says he's just only going to be here for a little while. And I think that we're caught up because Bad Dad and Russ, we already oh, hold on. Just a Rican is here.
Hey, Rod the Rican's here.
He just dropped a video where he went to a collectible show in Kissimmee, Florida. And I saw him like rifling through the long boxes, looking for his Marvel team-ups in there. So great to see you there in that vid, Rob.
Nice.
And I think that's it.
Hey, let me point out one more thing about these Silver Age first appearances that occurs to me too. Some people are into certain genres. Like I'm into Golden Age. I don't really care, what happened in the Copper Age or the Bronze Age or the Silver Age for my PC. It's Golden Age. So, there's people that are into the Silver Age and they love the Silver Age, and it is, the birth of the Marvel superhero. It's really the birth of modern comics. The Golden Age is another thing. It was sort of like a tryout for a lot of different types of comic material. But the Silver Age is the birth of modern comics. It's perhaps more historically significant than the Golden Age for moving comics forward into popularity. But if you're into Silver Age and that's your nightclub, if Captain America walks into your nightclub for the first time, that's a huge deal. It doesn't matter if he's been to other nightclubs or he just last week was at the oldest club in the city. He's at your nightclub. That's a huge deal. It's not the first time he's been out on the town, but it's first time in your club. That's a huge deal. So if you're into Silver Age stuff and you're collecting silver keys, Avengers 4 is a big book, not because it's the first time we ever know about Captain America, but I mean, if you're for Silver Age, that's that character enters the Silver Age club, and that's a big deal for the Silver Age group, I think. I think so. I'm not a Silver Age collector. I just pick up what I think people will pay me a profit for. So I know Avengers 4 is not a book, but there's Silver Age is an awesome genre of books, and if you're into Silver Age, you got to get an Avengers 4. That's definitely got to be on your top 10, I would think, or top.
Yeah, that's another dynamic that I think you hit on DS is that Silver Age collectors are now people, folks that are on now have advanced in years, but they want to recapture the joy that they had in their youth. So there's a different dynamic there than perhaps a Golden Age, which is I think is very historically relevant. Because you're talking about the genre, actually, the comic book medium actually being created. You can argue it was in 1929 with Detective Dan or whatever, but essentially it was in a Golden Age. But the dynamic there is that now we're trying to recapture those characters that we fell in love with as young, as Muppets, as in our youth. And that dynamic creates a whole different kind of sub area of collecting, because now you're talking about people that the characters are significant, but beyond that they are very personal, and they take people back to that time when they remember falling in love with those characters, and that is a dynamic that makes those books even more expensive beyond the relative rarity. It's the personal connection to them.
And it wouldn't surprise me to see Avengers 4 surpass Avengers 1 at some point in value, because Avengers 4 is, the first Silver Age cap, and we've been talking about that, for the last 10 minutes. But Avengers 1 is what? The first time.
It's not the first appearance of anybody.
It's the first book of a title.
It's the first book of a title, a first grouping, but it's not a first appearance of any of those characters, except I guess the villain or one of the sub things in there. But yeah, I agree. Avengers 4 should be much better. Much better.
1, really, I think.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I agree.
An Avengers 4 in like a 7.0 is closing in on $3,000, I think, dollars. And Avengers 1 in 7.0, man, that's like 5,000 only, I think. So I mean, they're pretty close. I mean,
yeah,
just 3.0 Avengers is maybe $2,200, and a 3.0 Avengers 4 is probably, I don't know, it's got to be $1,000 at this point. So it's closing in on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Avengers 4 surpassed Avengers 1.
Avengers 1 has a great cover. I mean, if we're talking about the things that make a top key for its age, that cover of Avengers 1 is pretty stellar and striking, and it looks old. Like, it just, the way that to see all your favorite characters drawn in that way just to me, it has a little bit of an emotional connection when I see them drawn more original, than all the different morphs that they've taken over the years. It's a pretty cool book. I mean, I like Avengers 4 also, but I have to say, for me, I like Avengers 1 better because of the cover. I like the cover better than Avengers 4.
The Silver Age stuff doesn't seem to be as cover-driven as the category I'm into, but the Avengers in particular has some of the best Silver Age Marvel covers is in the Avengers run. But, that's mostly hero-driven, first appearance-driven, number one title-driven, stuff like that. But for cover art, Avengers is second to none. I think for me personally, this is probably going to, a lot of people are going to disagree, but I really think the first 50 issues of Avengers has more covers I like than the first 50 issues of Amazing Spider-Man.
Ooh.
So there it is. Another comics.
Wow.
You can send your hate mail to the local drive-thru because that's where he'll be taking a nap tomorrow.
I'll be getting 2 down every time I do a video now.
I saw that. You picked up 2 fleas, what I call them fleas. Ones that just hang around just to bite. I've got in the chat, we've got a Gray Man's in the house. Welcome. And we also had someone else dropped in. I think Thomas Churchill I saw there.
Thomas Churchill.
So glad to have you. Anyone else I may have missed? I think we're good since the last catch-up. So thanks, guys, for joining us. Tet's finally got his wife and his dinner, so he's happy. And thank you to everybody. It's a real lively chat tonight, so I appreciate it. We're up to 28 people in the chat tonight. You guys give us a thumbs up, and maybe some more people will find us, is really how that works. So the more interaction you have, YouTube will show this to more people as a suggested video when it comes live, and then we'll have even more people to talk to. So,
and let's remember to sub up anybody that you're not sub to in the chat. Let's make sure you support those that are here supporting us. Okay?
Yes, I appreciate that. And as you guys know, I'm trying not to be bashing the Silver Age. I love the Silver Age. I have plenty of Silver Age books. Yeah. But when we talk about things that make it a key or a top key in that age, that's where I get a little touchy about them. But other than that, there's tons of Silver Age books I'd love to have. There's some I think are overrated and I never have cared for, and that's usually because some of the covers are less dynamic. But other than that, so all the ages are good ages.
Tell us an essay book that's overrated to you.
First Vision.
Avengers
that all red cover.
Yeah. Avengers 57.
Yeah, Avengers 57. I've owned it and I've sold it. I got it out of my collection. I had it up for a while to see if I would fall in love with it, and I just couldn't. I think it's one of the ugliest covers. I think it's late. I like nothing about it. And again, it's a first Silver Age appearance of another character, albeit changed.
Which
just never have liked that book.
Very different. Yeah.
Another book that I never have liked is Fantastic 448. I think that
Yeah.
that is the ugliest cover to be the biggest key to be so ugly.
50, 48 and 50 are both really not.
Yes,
kind of
I would
covers.
take a 49 all day long. That
Yeah.
cover is perfect.
Man,
Yeah,
I like
49 is
50.
great.
That's the brown cover with Silver Surfer coming in.
Yeah.
I like the Silver Surfer on there, but I don't like the color scheme that much.
I like
would
all
take-
the Surfer books that have Surfer on it coming in, like especially when you get into Fantastic Four, like 50 through 80. There's a ton of them with Silver Surfer on the cover and a lot of bright reds, and they're really. I like those covers.
I think Silver Surfer number 4, good Sal Buscema takes the cake on all those other covers.
Well, yeah, I know nobody's going to disagree with that.
I mean, that's just amazing. And you know, and I happen to like the first Thor. I forget which Avengers is that.
First Thor is Journey into Mystery 83.
Yeah, Journey into Jim. I'm sorry, it's late. I absolutely love that book, and a lot of people say that's kind of weak and not that exciting. You know, a lot of dead space in that book on that cover, but I really still like it. It's just something when I see it, I get excited.
The only thing I don't like about that cover is the hammer. It's the path of the hammer as he's swinging it around that circle that the hammer's creating. It's too solid, and it makes it look like a propeller or something, or like I wish it looked a little more choppy or transparent or something. It looks too like a thick of a line for me, but that is one of the few Silver Age keys I actually want because I grew up with Thor. But yeah, I think that cover is pretty classic, actually.
Yeah, but if I had to give up FF48 and a Journey into Mystery 83 for Silver Surfer 4, I would do it. I would take that book as the better Thor cover and the better Silver Surfer cover, which, of course, FF48 doesn't even have Silver Surfer on it, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
That's a better book than the other two.
The 4, I mean, it's just that thing is near perfect with the rainbow and the Silver Surfer coming down and Thor, you know, at that angle about to it. That's a near perfect cover. That's almost unimprovable.
Yeah, really is quite something. Yeah. All right, y'all, let's move into the Bronze Age. And for this, I get to yak a little bit. No, I'll let you guys still play with it. For me, the Bronze Age, my favorite top key books of the Bronze Age to me is the battle of two completely different books. So you have like the DC, you got to start breaking it up into, I think once you get past the silver and you get into the bronze, you have to start looking at publishers as the dividing line. And for me, this is the top DC book, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
DC Bronze Age book.
No doubt.
And I think what makes this a top book over other, especially DC Bronze, but over other Bronze Age books, is that you have a perfect artist in genre. Because, you know, you've got a lot of guys that can do anything, right? Mm-hmm. For instance, I really enjoy Jim Balin's art, really only in Catwoman. And a couple of other, you know, Catwoman-esque figures he's drawn over the years. But for the most part, that's my favorite, right?
Right.
So sometimes artists need to stay in their vein, I think, for me to really appreciate them. And there's no better than Wrightson on horror, you know. So I think that works perfectly. You have also a cover appearance by the first appearance character, which I think is big too.
Right.
So,
agreed.
You know, here he's here and he's on the cover. That's something that, you know, FF48 doesn't have, right? You might have a shadow or things of that nature, but for the most part, the main things about that book aren't represented in the cover, which is just other than text. So you have an image of the main key. You have great design of logo. I think all that just is so kind of spooky and works really well. You know, logo design I think is key too, because the Bronze Age is much more dynamic. You know, the covers are all inclusive. You know,
correct.
I really enjoy that part of the Bronze Age. So when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking this is a top DC book because it has everything going for it all at once. But what do you do with this book for Marvel? I don't think anyone would say that Herb Trimpe was the top Bronze Age artist.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, you're just not going to get that.
No.
You're not going to get anyone to go, oh man, that's a number one artist on the number one title. Even Incredible Hulk was a middling title at this point. You know, you're not even you don't have the top artist on the top book. What you ended up with was the top character later on as people warmed up to him, right? Mm-hmm. And people going back to, hey, what was his first appearance, right? And the fact that, where is it? Oh, you know, the fact that this book isn't a number one top key book for the Bronze Age anymore, really, is because he's not on the cover. You put Wolverine on the cover, and as much as he is on the back page, I don't think they label it as a cameo. I don't think they label it as partial first appearance. I think it's just the first appearance, and they let it roll if he's on the cover. But because he's not, and you got this instead, and you can't tell me that's like the best Wendigo you've ever seen either. You know,
no, that's a terrible.
Well, Roger to it. That got Roger to buy it. If that Yeti wasn't on there, Roger would not have a Hulk 181.
Well, that's true. He's absolutely right. I bought it for the Yeti on both 180 and 181.
He looks better on 180.
180 looks
good.
Pretty
cool on 180.
I agree. I think 180 to me is by far the superior book. I mean, you know, you can argue this up and down. Yellow cover, a much better. Look at the perspective here. You know, the Yeti, the Wendigo, you know, trying to hammer this big boulder onto Hulk, and Hulk is kind of crouching to protect himself, and then because of the two down here, they're trying to protect. You know, it's much better conceived cover. Trimpe was. Let me tell you, he was a good artist. We're not dissing Trimpe.
No, we're not knocking him at all.
Not Trimpe, but he is not. He is not in the same universe as Wrightson or Adams. Okay, let's just call it what it is. You know.
Yeah, but he was Trimpe was one of those guys I respect because he's rock solid. He's always consistently good, and he was just the working man's artist. I mean, he worked, and he put in the hours. He did the work. He did the job at a high level, and he had passion and skill, and he earned what he made doing the job as well as he could, and he never slacked and took a day off. He's that kind of artist. I really respect artists like that. You know, there's artists now that are phenomenal artists, and they do variant cover here and there, and it's like, you know, they're not. It doesn't seem like they're putting in a lot of time, although their art is phenomenal. But then you get a guy like Trimpe gets no credit, even on the huge book that he worked on. But I don't think he cares or cared or ever cared. He just went to work, worked, did the best he could, and went home and got up the next day and did it again.
Right. I agree. Yeah, a very good artist, honestly, a very good artist, and very.
And we're not knocking him at all.
No, we're not knocking him. We're not. We're talking about the individual. We're talking about really hair splitting things here, but compared to the House of Secrets '92, I think it's no contest. I mean,
it's no contest.
I don't have one, so I have both of these, and I don't have that one. So you know, I'm talking, you know, to my detriment, but it's just so much better. And remember, Louise Simonson is the one on that cover there of House of Secrets '92.
Yeah.
That she was the one that they patterned that, which is another little nuance to the cover, which makes it even a little more special.
Yeah, and an interesting side note about those Hulks 180 and 181, it's not really CGC or Overstreet's fault for why one is the first appearance and the other one's not. 180 is the first appearance. It's just the first brief appearance, and I think that's fair. And 181 is the first full appearance, which I think is fair. So, you know, nobody's to blame except the people that are out there buying the books as to which one has more value. But 180 is recognized in the industry, you know, Overstreet, the CGC labels. You know, generally it's the first appearance of Wolverine, but it's a brief appearance. It doesn't say cameo in any of the, you know, academic materials about it. It's just people want the 181. It's a full story of the Wolverine. So it's just, and you know what, honestly, I agree that, you know, if he's on the cover of 181 and it's a red cover, and red covers, everybody except Bub loves the red covers.
I like yellow covers.
I know, like the Vision, Amazing Spider-Man 50, you get some of these red covers and red pops, and people love red covers. Hulk 181, Wolverine on the front, red cover. That's going to beat 180 all the time.
Yeah, I know.
I know we're
As
in the
well it
minority,
should,
Bub.
right?
We're in the minority. I know
That's
that.
okay. That's
We're
all
in the
right. I'm
minority.
used to that.
But that's my baby right there. That's my baby. That's the one that
So
I just think is just a fabulous comic myself.
I agree. And it's the first one that I ever had. It was the first most expensive comic that I ever had, and it was gifted to me by my wife, and so it has a
Very special. Yeah.
special place for me too. So, and then you have books like this, right? So you have the complete, new team in play. So why is this book taking off like crazy? I don't think it's just speculation. Like people say, now this book is speculation because there is a very, very small group of rabid Moon Knight fans out there. And the rest of the people buying this book I bought this book to complete my Werewolf by Night run. It had nothing to do with Moon Knight. I paid more for it because it had to do with Moon Knight, but I didn't buy it for Moon Knight, And so this book is one of those Bronze Age huge spec books right now. And of course, now that they've confirmed a show or whatever coming, it's completely blown up.
Yeah, but I talked about this a while ago, maybe like a year ago, about Werewolf by Night 32. And I was told by collectors that like that book and think it's an appropriately big key. It has nothing to do with spec, is why it's popular and highly regarded, is because it has a cult following for that character who is super badass and cool. I'll give you that. So he has a cult following, very devoted followers to Moon Knight, and it's got a lower print run than a lot of other books. So it's relative to the other books, it's harder to find. That's what I've been told. Why that book is highly regarded. But you throw in spec in now, in modern age, it affects everything.
That book has been the worst kept secret. It's been the worst kept secret as far as spec goes for like 5 years.
Yeah.
People have been talking about really when I think when where is it? Where have I got it? I've got it here somewhere. When this book came in first, when this book really blew up and took off, when the Deadpool movies came out, that was all of a sudden when people saw an R-rated crazy person who murders, basically, right, as a hero in a full-length movie in theaters, not animated and other crap that they do now. That was huge. And to me, this book is, when it took off, and this is a relatively easy book to acquire as far as availability, right?
Yeah.
So when that book took off, and he was a cult following character, cult followed character as well. So when that book took off because of the first Deadpool movie, that's when the Werewolf by Night 32 took a huge jump, because people then realized that it was possible to have that kind of character carry a movie and be successful and bring new, lovers of the character into fold. So I think that was huge for Moon Knight. So now you have all this, Moon Knight craze. A lot of it is still, I think, speculation, because as many people love that book and follow that book, it was still a big key in the low hundreds, and now it's cracking up to territory that it really, I don't think, deserves on its own yet.
Yeah, but I mean, I bet you can't take all the spec out of it. People, there's a ton of good Bronze stuff out there, but
there is.
There's not as many first appearances as big books as people think. If you try to come up just on the fly of a top 10 Bronze keys, and you're trying to keep, just for an exercise, try to keep Werewolf by Night 32 out of it, and try to do a top 10 without that, you'll struggle to get books to put ahead of it. Honestly, there's not that many. You're going to have to include it. I mean, you've got the Hulklinity 1, ASM 129, you can put ahead of it. I mean, you can even put ASM 121 and 122 ahead of it if you really want to be obstinate. And, you quickly run out of options to put ahead of a Werewolf by Night 32, and you're still, around the top 10. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the biggest book ever, but in the Bronze Age, there's so much stuff out there that's not huge keys. It's just rock solid, awesome stuff. It's tough to find big keys to put ahead. There's really not that many really big keys in the Bronze. So it's tough to keep that out of top 10. I tried. I did top 10s for Bronze many times, and that book always ends up on the top 10. And it's not a personal favorite of mine, but it's tough to put a bunch of books ahead of it, honestly.
Yeah, that is an excellent point, because I'm just looking at my wall, and I'm somewhere around top 5 books of Bronze, and I can't get between 5 and 10 without including Werewolf by Night. I can get to 5 pretty easily, but then I'm stuck.
Yeah, you're going to start getting things like Tomb of Dracula 10, or, there's a toss-up. You're going to say that's 10 better. I mean, that's
especially now.
Type of book. I mean.
No, you make a great point.
No, that is a good
Bronze
point.
has a ton of great stuff, but not a ton of like big first appearance keys, because the Silver Age carried over into the Bronze Age. It wasn't like the Golden Age was distinct and then the Silver Age was distinct. The Silver carried over into the Bronze, and all those characters pretty much continued. So there's not a lot of brand new superstar first appearances in the Bronze Age that are mega keys.
Especially since DC doesn't have really a whole lot of at all. Bronze Age keys. You have the House of Secrets only 2. You have the Green Lantern, but not too many. Not too many at all. You have, I guess you could say you have the first Dark Side, but that's a villain, But there's not that many on the DC side in the Bronze Age at all.
Yeah, I think time will remember DC Bronze as being a horror genre.
Horror genre, yeah.
And that's also another aspect that drives HOS 92. Yes, awesome cover. Yes, top artist. The color scheme, the way or everything about the artwork itself on the cover, the artist, the superhero key aspect to it. But it's also the top Bronze horror book. And Bronze horror is a very, very popular and important genre.
Very important.
Certainly.
Ever since the Golden Age, there was, Silver Age is pretty much devoid of horror. There's some horror themed stuff in the Silver Age, of course, but it's not. It doesn't play with the big boys. But then when you get into Bronze, the horror comes back out into its own, and it's really, really rock solid again. And that, as a horror collector myself, I would put that book very highly because of the horror aspect of it, and a lot of collectors do. So that partly drives the importance of that as being a mega key.
Yeah, I think so too. Once you have people that are willing to go ahead and put the money behind it, as we always say, the market has spoken, right? So I think that also, if you can pull out the speculation of the market as much as you can, and try and look at a more pure market of collectors, not just people looking to make money down the road, then that a lot of these books already had legs, and were big books already. You have cover buys too, right? You got this Green Lantern 76. That is a very
that's the
Alex the Comic Hoarder says that for him that's a top 5 Bronze book. But see, you're getting into a book that legitimately could make the top 10 as not really a mega key, just pure artist and cover. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And that's what I say about the Bronze. I think that the Bronze Age, when you talk about what makes it a top key versus just a key, because all these books we're talking about are keys in their own right anyway. I think it has to be a combination of what's inside the book, meaning the story. All these books we've talked about had key stories. Right. Then they have to have key covers with key artists, with the exception, I'm saying, of Hulk 181. I think the rest are all top artists in their field. And then
by 932, Don Perlin inside art, which is not too good.
No, but on the cover, I'm talking.
Gil Kane did a great cover.
Yes,
but
I'm talking about cover artist, interior story, which doesn't necessarily have to have a good interior art, but interior story that has relevance and weight to it, in the sense that it changed what happened after that. A lot of these books changed the future of comics. Going for they had that impact on the publishing house that was putting them out. And that's just fantastic. We were talking about DC, so I thought I'd bring that one up as being one of those outliers, or not. I mean, as being the exception. No, as being the rule. There you go. As being the rule, right? Because it has a top artist, has a top cover. It has, an important interior story. It has a team up for the first time, if you want to try and count first type appearances. And so there you go, right? So it's a book that has it all, so it makes the list.
Well, if you want it's almost appropriate in the Bronze Age to not do a top 10, but to do a DC top 10 and a Marvel top 10, because the DC top 10 is going to be top 10 Wrightson and Neil Adams works, and the Marvel's going to be top 10 superhero stuff.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is. I mean, you look at the top 5 bronze DC books. I don't know off the top of my head, but they're almost all of them are going to be Neil Adams and Bernie Wrightson.
Yeah.
You got Batman 232.
You got Batman 227 and 251.
251.
70,
you got
76.
Yep. So you got the 3 Batmans right off the bat, and you got the House of Secrets 92 and the Neil Adams 76 GL.
Yeah, and those are none of the, well, the House of Secrets, the first appearance, but I really think the art and the artist overshadows the fact that it's the first appearance. I don't know, maybe not value-wise. Maybe it's just for me, but I feel like all of those books in that top 5 bronze are art and artist driven rather than first appearance driven like the Marvel list would be.
Except for House of Secrets 92, maybe.
Yeah, but to answer me this: if a different artist did that book, and totally different cover, different artist, different art style, different colors, everything, do you think it would be as big as it is? Do you know what I mean? Swamp Thing, really?
I mean, think so.
Cool, but I don't think that book cracks the top 10 without writing.
I don't think so. I think that there's a certain synergy in that comic that makes it. I mean, it's hard to speculate. I mean, it's hard to sort of get, it's hard to prove a negative, right? But to me, I think that the Wrightson aspect or that dynamic in that book gives it just a little bit. It would be important, no doubt, because the character has obviously way outgrown that. But
it would have Man-Thing important.
It would have, yeah.
Man-Thing, nobody's, first appearance of Man-Thing is, well, it's in a magazine, so that kind of makes it.
Yeah, Savage Tales,
Yeah. But I mean, the Savage Tales and, Fear 10, those don't go for a ton of money.
No, they don't.
Blows it out of the water. It's not even. No.
Although I think Swamp Thing is has a little more legs than Man-Thing does. Although that can be debated, I suppose. But to me, even though I'm a big Man-Thing fan, Swamp Thing to me has a lot more legs as far as popularity than, because especially since he had that long run, that Alan Moore run and so forth. That was just so iconic.
Yeah, it definitely benefited from better writers and better
writers. Yeah.
I even think the Swamp Thing later on after that, when you get Toddleben in there, is some of the coolest artwork ever. And it's just nobody ever collects it, nobody buys it. I never see anybody showing it off, and that stuff is, man, it's killer artwork. It's like concert poster type artwork on it, or late 70s like Dio album covers or something. It's killer. You know what I mean? It really is.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true. I agree.
Late Black Sabbath type stuff where their music sucked, but their album covers are cool.
Well, so Black Sabbath fans might be coming after you. I don't know.
I mean, if I'm going after late Sabbath with Ronnie James Dio, I think he was actually the singer of Sabbath. Up in my head, I don't think they're going to argue with that. I mean, I'm a big Sabbath fan.
Yeah. But I do think the Wrightson component in that book does give it a little more panache. It's not the whole thing, not even close, but it does give it a little more than it would normally have.
Well, what's funny is that similarly with Superman, I had shown my father's a big Superman fan, and he had never read his first appearance. So I gave him a copy of the one of the reprints of the Action Comics, right? And he read it and he was like, that was really interesting, but that wasn't Superman. I said, yeah, I know what you mean. He was like, that was great and I enjoyed it, but he said I had to reread it a couple of times because the first couple of times I just couldn't get over that this person that was dressed like Superman didn't act like the Superman that he knew and loved, really prominently from the early 60s was when he was reading that. Mm-hmm. And it just did not resonate with him as Superman. This was a completely different character. He said, in fact, Superman in Action Comics 1 is kind of a jerk. I said, yeah.
Didn't he like throw a guy out a window or something?
Yeah. And he's beating people up. He's almost acts like a bully. And so I think part of that is the same thing goes with House of Secrets 92. He's not really a superhero. He's more of a typical Bronze Age horror anomaly type, what you would think is meant to be a one-off comic, Mm-hmm. And if it weren't for Wrightson's art on it, I don't think it gets a series. I don't.
I mean, House of Secrets. DC had a bunch of those sort of anthology horror series that were disconnected from one issue to the next. They had House of Secrets, House of Mystery. I mean, they had all those, and this was just another one in it. But this one stuck because of Wrightson. But he was doing, DC horror all across the board, and this one stuck, and they continued it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it was intended as sort of a one-off.
Yeah, no doubt it was. I mean, I can compare it kind of like to Man-Bat. Man-Bat had that appearance as in Batman. You have it, don't you, Bob?
Yeah.
Right. And then he had his own series, which lasted a big 2 issues.
Two issues.
But Wrightson and Swamp Thing, but honestly, the stories were much better in Swamp Thing also. That lasted, well into the 20s, I believe. So, that made a big difference when it was brought back. A lot of these characters were used, and then they had their heyday for a brief period of time, and they were kind of on the back burner. They were on Brave and the Bold and things like that. And then somebody says, "Hey, I have an idea for this character," and that's when they really blew up.
Yeah, and Unruly Simeon too, saying House of Secrets and I assume that's House of Mystery.
Yeah.
Had some great covers on occasion. They really did. There's some fantastic. In fact, one of my favorite covers, I think, is a House of Mystery cover, and it's a Bernie Wrightson cover, and I think it's far superior to his Swamp Thing cover.
Yeah, Swamp Thing's not his best. That's not his best stuff, but it's still good. It's still very.
Yeah, what I like about the House of Secrets '92 cover. We talked about it once, and I think there was disagreement with. I think it might even been on the show. That cover to me is very interesting because it can be looked at in so many different angles, because it's not clear from a lot of times the covers of comic books are not directly what's in the story. It might not even be from a panel, but it's like a teaser. It's like a movie poster for what's inside, sort of an interpretation or a teaser of what's to come if you read the book. Mm-hmm. And that one, it's not real clear, and it's expertly done by Wrightson, because you can't tell if she's scared, if she's curious, if they already know each other. You can't tell if he might be a little scared of her, or if they're both unsure about each other, or if it's a teaser, because what's going on there? It's not like she's freaked out and this monster's coming to kill her. That's not what I get from that cover. It could be read so many different ways, and that's the mastery of Wrightson, to do a cover that evokes so many different feelings and possibilities with it. A really, really awesome cover, more than just visually. There's the feel of it, and it's not clear just from that cover as a single work of art what's going on, what's the dynamic between her and the monster.
And that's what makes you want to buy it, because you want to find out what the dynamic is.
Right. It's a great teaser, but it's become a great
teaser.
Yeah, I really dig that aspect of it, that it leaves a lot to the imagination.
Absolutely.
And that self-contained story is fantastic.
Yeah.
That first story of House of Secrets '92, the first Swamp Thing story, is so good. It's such an amazing story. It has such a poetic, cadence to it. It has a little bit of horror, and it makes you almost cry at one point. It's so good. And the art in the interior is so good, and the mystery of it, and the fleshed out villain and the hero, the way it morphs into itself, it's just amazing. It's just a great story, and that's why tonight, right, we're talking about gold, silver, and bronze, and I don't think we're going to have time for copper or modern tonight, and we're just going to have to be okay with that.
Man, I love copper.
I know you love copper.
I do love copper.
Get back to you for copper.
Too. I do too. I like it too.
We'll have to table that up for another night, guys. We'll get to that. So we'll put that on the next week or week after agenda. Do you guys want to have a show next week? What do you think? We got it's Labor Day or something, right? It's Labor Day, isn't it?
Labor Day.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
are you guys?
I'm free.
You're free.
I mean, I didn't even know it was a holiday.
It's his day off regardless.
Well, I'm off on Mondays no matter what. I actually get annoyed when there's a holiday on Monday, because that's my day off. Rest of y'all need to go to work, because I like to go to the post office, go to the bank, go to the store, and there's nobody out. Now I'm gonna be screwed on my day off because everybody's gonna be out and about. Like,
Oh man.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll have a show next week then. Roger, you be able to make it?
I'll try. I might be a little late, but I'll try to make it.
All right, I'll try too. I might be a little late too, but we'll try and have a show. Holiday shows actually get pretty good ratings most of the time. So the ones we've done before, they get pretty well attended. I guess everyone's had a few drinks and they're ready to blow up the chat with craziness. So, so we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. So we'll be back on next week, and we'll have our first of the segments of the why not the why no faces segment. We're gonna have that on there. So look forward to that. Poor Mike, Area 51 will be our first recipient of that award. So that'll be fun. DS, you got anything big coming up or small?
Yeah. Let me plug my no date announced yet mega auction DS Comic Con. I put a video out today, and it's got like a collage that I made of all books that I have that will be for sale. I'm overwhelmed sort of with like inventory and books I need to move. So I'm going to hold like a mega auction with all this stuff in the near future. And I'm going to try to sell everything I have to the YouTube community first. And I'll probably do a couple of them in a row and try to get as much into this community as possible before I move on to like eBay, Instagram, and other places. But I'm going to try to have low bids. I'm going to try to give everything away under GPA. It's all keys. It's silver, bronze, and copper. And it's just killer stuff, some raws, some slabs. I'll do some sets. And what I think I'm going to do is we have a big box of DVDs that we don't really want anymore. I think I'll give them away with every purchase. So,
wow.
Yeah, we've got hundreds of DVDs. So we're just going to give a DVD away to everybody who buys one through my upcoming auction extravaganza.
Great. And DS has such terrible taste in movies that if he's giving these away, they're probably the good ones. So
they're good movies. It's just that DVD player. It's my taste in movies. It's all quality stuff, and it's all good DVDs. We don't watch DVDs anymore.
I'm still waiting for the Man Thing and Swamp Thing review, DS.
Yeah, I forgot about it until it was typed in the chat here. I'm definitely going to try to watch that. Watch both of those, but definitely the Man Thing. Or
I think we're getting to the year threshold.
Yeah, right.
I think we've given you enough slack, DS. I need a review, man.
DS wouldn't let me rent it, so she doesn't want money on.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to sneak that in
Come
sometime.
on.
DS, your
you can barter.
has been fantastic. Your contribution to this topic has been amazing, and I suggest you take a nap before every show. If that's the level of quality we can expect after your little cat naps, then sleep away, my friend.
Well, here's I'll let you in on a little secret. I already do. So.
Oh man.
I put an alarm because I usually don't nap for more than an hour. But if today I was tired. I worked hard today doing pretty much nothing.
Yeah, that 2.5-minute video must have really wore you out.
Yeah, that was
Hey, that took a lot of planning and effort, and I had to do 3 different takes to get that right because I was trying to get that collage to be the main image on the video, and I can't figure out how to do it. As soon as I click start, I can't put that on the screen and then click start because the start button's not there. So I had to figure out a way to do it. It was exhausting, I'm telling you.
I'm glad you recovered. Roger, you got anything big coming up?
Well, I still have the giveaway.
Oh yeah.
Watch last Tuesday's vid, and I'll give you all the details where I hunt for you. And
I'm entered.
I know. I got it. And this Tuesday, I'm dropping another video comparing let me give you, everybody who's here in the chat is going to get a little preview. I'm comparing the Dave Cockrum Legion of Superheroes with the Shi'ar Imperial Guard and how Nightcrawler was originally supposed to be a Legionnaire.
Ooh.
So,
that's awesome.
Tune in for that on Tuesday, and then of course you got the roundup on Thursday. As I do every week.
Nice. All right, thank you. And if y'all care, I've still got my NFL picks pool going on. So if anyone wants in on that, It's like $60, and you get to pick the winners from each week's football picks that week. You know, the games, pick the winners, and at the end of the season, we're going to give away a bunch of prizes to the top 3 people who pick the most winners. So hopefully that's enticing to somebody. We've got a few people joined in, hoping to get more so we can have bigger prizes. So if anybody wants in on that, if you like football and you like comics, come on and play with us. Other than that, I should have long overdue. Roger was busted me earlier that I need to have a 500 subscriber contest. Currently, I'm a little over 620. So I guess I'm late. I'll turn it into a 600 sub contest, but I already have some books pulled aside for that. So I should be getting that out soon. And I haven't been shopping a whole lot for comics, so I'll have a comic haul probably on Wednesday, collecting the books that I've picked up over the last week. Because I haven't been shopping much doesn't mean I haven't been picking up books. It just means they slowed down a little bit.
Mhm.
So I'll collect them all, and I'll probably show those off Wednesday. So that's all I've got going on. And that's it. So hope y'all can join us for all that good stuff. No Golden Guys this week, DS?
Yeah, there's a Golden Guys tomorrow, but I just chose to plug my own selfish interests ahead of it. But yeah, Golden Guys tomorrow night on the Comic Core channel at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
And I've now got 7 packages at CGC. So I got a lot of unboxing videos that'll be coming too.
Wow.
I really enjoy that Golden Age, the Golden Guys show. And if you all don't know, I know that they've had a few return guests quite often, but they usually it's JD Comics. And if you've never seen an old man cough, then you want to watch him. He's really, really good. He's not that old, but he sure looks it. He sure coughs it. And if you want to see a real sketchy guy that you don't want to leave your car unlocked near, or like you passing under a bridge and somebody comes at you with a squeegee, you got DS Comics. He's there. And if you ever enjoy watching butter melt at room temperature, there's Knights of Old. He's there too. So. But for real, it's a fantastic
Mike,
show. I know. I pick on him.
Well, you know what? Any publicity is good publicity.
There's no bad publicity.
If people tune in to see if Bub's right, we will be happy to have you.
That is one of my favorite shows. There's no other show on YouTube like that one. Let me tell you, it's a very unique show.
It's quite unique, and it's super informative, and it's really, really just I learned so much watching it. I almost feel it's one of those shows I feel intimidated to comment sometimes. I'm like, man, I don't want to sound stupid because these guys know a lot, and it seems like every week they get smarter from each other. So you got to tune in to catch that
every week. Every week I feel like that. Like when I'm here with you guys, or just generally, I know more than the average bear about Golden Age. When I go on that show, I feel a little, under-equipped sometimes because I haven't been doing it that long, and these guys know. I learn as much or more from that show every week than anybody else does. So that's the best thing about that show for me. I'm a beginner at Golden Age. I mean, on this show for superhero stuff or Bronze Age, yeah, I seem to know a lot, but I get on that show, man, I've learned new stuff all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
agreed.
Good show.
Agreed.
So, and of course, Graders Notes. You got a Graders Notes coming up?
Not this week,
Roger?
Next week. Yeah, next week.
Do you know what the book's going to be yet?
Yes, it's going to be Aquaman Special #1 from 1989, I do believe.
Ooh, I believe that's when Aquaman contracts aqua crabs. Is that right? It's Aquaman versus the aqua crab.
I don't think so. But the one after that is my choice, and you're gonna want to see that one. There's going to be sparks flying. I'm not going to say anything right now. The one after that one, sparks will fly.
The attention span is too short to tune in for that show, Roger.
Gotcha.
Thanks.
Gotcha.
He'll see it on the replay, and he'll see that it was an hour and 20 minutes, and he'll be like, "Whew, that's an hour and 19 minutes too long for me."
Too long, yeah. Yeah, of course he'll have a half-hour video, and then he'll criticize us for our video.
Hey, I've cut mine down quite a bit, and I tell you, if you ever see like Short Circuit, one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. You ever see Short Circuit, and he's like reading the book and like that? Johnny Five. That's how I watch YouTube videos. I watch them at 2x speed, and so you can give me an hour-long show. In fact, I almost always watch the replay of Golden Guys because it comes on too late for me to watch on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, me too.
But the next day, I watch it at double speed. So if you ever want to see butter melt twice as fast,
Oh man.
oh, but it's really good.
Oh,
So
Butterfalls.
yeah, Butterfall. I did the same thing with Grader's Notes. It was 2 weeks ago, I feel like it was. And watched that one on double speed. I have to be careful with the Grader's Notes because sometimes you guys do books that I've never read, and I don't want to spoil it for myself.
Well, if the book's been out since 1976, it's, the statute of limitations on spoilers has run, bud.
That's right.
I know. All right, guys, we're coming up on an hour and a half. We got to get off here. YouTube's going to pull our license.
All right, guys.
So thank you all for joining us in the chat. It's been lively. It's been fun. You guys are awesome. Come back next week. Apparently, we may be a couple minutes late, but we will be on next week.
We'll be here.
No Faces Comic Chat. DS, say your goodbyes. Roger, say your goodbyes. I'll say my goodbye. Let's get it rolling.
All right, everybody do your homework. We'll see you again next week. Great chat.
Be blessed. Be back. Bye.
And read a comic. Catch you next week on the No Faces Comic Chat. Thanks. Bye.